Hey, what's up coders? Welcome to One Little Coder. In this Python tutorial, we're going to see how to use OpenAI Point-E to create a 3D image or 3D model from the text prompt and then use that 3D model inside Blender to do what you want. For example, right now I've got my Blender open and as you can see that I've got a very ugly airplane, I would say, and I can color it, I can do whatever I want. I'm not very good at Blender, so I might have to myself, watch a lot of tutorials to understand what to do with Blender. But right now I'm going to show you how you can use the Google Colab notebook that we built yesterday to create a 3D model or a point cloud file and then get that into Blender. That's what we're going to see. If you have not seen the first video, I would strongly encourage you to see, because I'm not going to cover the first part, which is how to use OpenAI Point-E. Now I assume that you have got OpenAI Point-E set up and running using a Google Colab notebook or on your local computer. Until this point was covered in the last tutorial. Now, if you have already got a 3D model like this within your Google Colab notebook visualized by Plotly, how can we convert this 3D model into a file, a point cloud file that we can use inside our Blender to 3D render it? That is what we are going to cover today. So first thing that you need to do is you need to import a utility function from Point-E. So from Point-E.util.pc to mesh, import marching _ cube _ mesh. Once you download this, you're going to create an SDF model and you're going to load the checkpoint. And after you do that, there is a very simple error. So just do this thing. Import sk image.measure as measure. This is to overcome an error, like I think there is a dependency error. Once you do that, now you're going to create a mesh with the point cloud that you created. The point cloud PC is already created using the text input. I'm going to give you a walkthrough of the entire thing and finally how to do it with the text, but for now you're going to create a mesh. Once you have the mesh in place, you're going to use the utility function called write _ ply to create a mesh file, like to output the file in the PLY file format, and that PLY file format is imported into our Blender and then we can do whatever we want. So I'm going to start from scratch and then show you, if you have got a text, how can you do everything. So go to our Google Colab notebook. Once you reach the Google Colab notebook, this notebook will be again linked in the YouTube description. You can simply run everything starting from top to bottom. So once you come here, you would see something called a prompt. So inside a prompt, you need to give something. For example, I can say a traffic cone. Maybe let's do a car. Maybe start with traffic cone. Okay, let's do a traffic cone. And then once you run this, it would take about a minute for it to create the traffic cone. Once you have the traffic cone in place, it's creating the samples. From that, we are going to output it to point clouds. Once we have that, that is what's stored inside the object called PC. So the object PC contains the point cloud, which is what we later on use to create a mesh, which in turn we write it as a PLY file that we are going to import inside our Blender software. If you want to use a different 3D modeling software, you can still do it. But I think Blender is quite popular and I saw a lot of people asking me how to import it into a Blender. That's exactly why I decided to make this video. So this would take about like 1:30. Let's see, yes, at 1:30 it is done. Then create the PC file. If you want to just visualize it, you can visualize it in 2D. And let's see if you can see a traffic cone. Yes, we can see a traffic cone. If you want 3D, you can visualize it in 3D inside your Google Colab notebook. But this is not truly 3D because you just have an interactive visualization. Next, what we are going to do is we're going to truly create a 3D. The models are already loaded. All we have to do is create the mesh. So from the PC object that we already have created in the above step, we have the mesh. I'm going to write the mesh file. So I'm going to say // and I can create the mesh file and I can go inside the folder and then refresh it, and then I can see if the mesh file exists. Okay, I messed up with the file name. I'm going to come back and then say, what is this called? This is called a traffic cone. Write the mesh file, refresh it here, and then see, okay, we have got the traffic _ cone.ply. Download the file into your local computer or wherever you have got Blender, save it, and then you can now go back to your Blender, and inside Blender you can Go to File, click Import, and then select stanford.ply file, which will load the PLY geometry file. Click the .ply file, and there we have the traffic underscore cone.ply file. So you can click it, and then that is now merged with the airplane that we have got. So if you don't want the airplane, you can just delete the airplane and you have got the traffic cone. So for example, like if you want to paint the traffic cone, you can actually see the traffic cone exists here. If you want to paint the traffic cone, click vertex paint, and then once you get the paint brush, you can start coloring it. You can color it whatever you want. You can select different colors. This is now a purple color traffic cone. If you want different view, you can give different colors, and you can do a lot more things. Like, I mean, what I'm showing is that your file is working fine on Blender, but ideally people know to do a lot of things, and that's what they do here with Blender. And this is exactly how you can take an object that is created using OpenAI Point-E and then import it inside Blender. Not just the .ply file. If you want .obj, which is an object file, a mesh object file, you can still do it. I don't know if you need to do it. If you need, let me know in the comment section. I'll try to make another tutorial for that. But for now, this tutorial tells you, this Google Colab notebook teaches you how to create a 3D object using Point-E, just simply from text, and use that object inside your Blender or any 3D tool, and then start playing around with it as you wish. I hope this was helpful to you in learning how to use or create 3D model just from a text using OpenAI Point-E, and then also import that object inside your Blender software. If you have got any question, let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, see you in the next video.